Welcome to the Big Fellas Podcast, where we chop it up about all things past, present, and future about the game of basketball. Where facts, stats, and context reign supreme.
That is blasphemous!
Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. Get ready to learn from players, coaches, and fans from all levels of the game and see the court in a brand new way. And now, fresh off the sidelines, here's your host, John Hartofilis.
What it do, fellas, and welcome to the Big Fellas Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, JH, coming to you from New York City, the mecca of basketball. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Otas Iyekekpolor, a 6'8" forward in the Portuguese basketball league. In this episode, we spoke about his journey from Canada to the U.S. to chase his dream, how he keeps transforming his game to keep going to the next level, and what it means to have ambition. We've got a good one in store for you today, fellas. Episode number 38, Otas Iyekekpolor, all things Otas. Hey, Otas, what's going on?
What's up? How you doing, John?
Great, man. Super fun to have you on. It was cool, how we got in contact. You just DM'd me on Instagram. I was like, dude, let's do it. You seem like a fun guy. Saw some of your highlight tapes. You could play, right? You got some good stuff going on over there in Portugal right now. For those that can't see, you're out on the street in Portugal. Some really cool stuff going on behind you. It's just an awesome atmosphere, I guess. We're going to definitely touch on that. So super hyped to have you on, man.
Thank you so much for having me. It's going to be a blast today, and I just look forward to getting in contact with you and just discussing basketball and all things hoops.
Awesome, man. Always good to talk hoops. So real quick, can you kind of give our listeners a walkthrough on how you kind of first got into the game?
So I started playing basketball in Edmonton, Alberta. I started playing when I was 8. I watched my older brother play. I kind of got into the game from him. I played through junior high, elementary school. I played all different sports. So I played soccer, golf, swimming, slow pitch, track and field, volleyball. Cross country, I played every sport. And then by the time I got to high school, I kind of was like, okay, I might have a future in this. So grade 12 year, I played just basketball. I ended up getting one scholarship offer to the University of Central Arkansas. I played there for 4 years. My last year I grad transferred. I played in Colorado. And then after that, I began my professional career. My first stop was in France. Last year I played also in the Canadian League. And now I'm here in Portugal, in the top league here.
Big stuff, man. You've already seen so many different levels of the game at such a young age. And it's interesting when you brought up how you played so many different sports when you were younger. A lot of people talk about how important it is to have that diverse group of sports when you're a kid. Because your body moves differently in soccer or football or swimming or whatever it is that it does in basketball. And that's super important to both help you become the best player you could be as an overall athlete, and also huge for preventing injuries. Can you kind of touch on that in terms of how much you think playing all those sports kind of helped you as a basketball player?
I would just say when you play a lot of different sports, not only does it boost your overall athleticism, but it just makes you enjoy the sport that you love so much more, just because you're never burnt out. I know a lot of kids right now, they're just playing AAU, playing travel ball, playing for the high school team, spring ball, and it's just year round and constant, and it's kind of a big strain on a person's body. But when you play a lot of different sports, not only are you fresh for when that season comes around, but your body's fresh. You learn different movements, and it just helps for injury prevention, of course, because your body's used to different cuts, different angles, and a whole lot of different stuff. So I was grateful that I was able to play so many different sports, and I truly believe that it helped me become the athlete I am today.
That's great. So once you started specializing in basketball specifically, you obviously got really good, really fast, and were able to secure a D1 scholarship and do all those cool things. What was that kind of like coming out of high school, that whole decision of where to go and that recruiting process for you?
So the recruiting process for me was very, very, very unique. So in high school, I was the second ranked player in my province. I think I was top 25 in the whole country of Canada. And at the time, Canada basketball was not really known. I mean, it was known, but especially in the side where I was, the Midwest of Canada, there was not that many prospects going to the Division I level. So for me, it was hard. I averaged 28 points, 17 rebounds a game in high school, and I got one scholarship offer. So I just saw a coaching staff that believed in me and wanted me to come out there and was truthful with me from the get-go. And I took the visit. I liked the campus, and I went there.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, you found a school with coaches that believed in you because you knew how good you were. It was just hard for all these other coaches to see it because of that barrier of being in a different country. And if you want to kind of just speak on like what you've noticed as the biggest differences, maybe in the high school scene or just in basketball in general between Canada and when you got to the States.
For me, the adjustment was kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie, especially coming from Edmonton, Alberta. I would say Canada's a more liberal country, and going to Arkansas, a little bit more conservative of a place. It's a very drastic change in culture for one. In terms of basketball, the level of competition I got in high school, being like the best player in my city, best player in my district, best player in my one of the best players in my province. I didn't get as much competition I was exposed to when I got to the United States. So that adjustment physically, mentally, the speed of the game, a whole lot of things. It was hard. It was a hard transition, but mentally I stuck with it, and good things came out of it. So I'm happy. I'm happy the way it worked out.
Of course, and it's super important you're able to stick with it and look where it got you and look where it's going to take you to. I mean, you're still so young. There's still so many years left to go. And off that point, I mean, such great stuff going on. What was your college experience like? And because I mean, I saw some of the highlights. I'm not sure. Some of them were for different years. And I saw a lot of improvement because I saw one mixtape and it said at the beginning 13 made threes. And I'm like, okay, he took a couple of shots, you're a little bigger. But then the next highlight video I saw, all you were shooting were threes and you were making them. So I just want to hear about that a little bit because at first I'm like, okay, whatever. He's more of a big. You were dunking like crazy. I'm okay, that's his game, like above the rim. And then the next video I see, there's like hands in your face, and they're contesting you, and you're still making them. So I just want to hear about that a little bit, that transformation for you.
That just goes back to like the level of basketball I played in high school. And I wouldn't knock it down or anything like that, but it just wasn't the best in the world. You know what I'm saying? So it was what it was. And then going to the NCAA level, I had a big adjustment. So I'm not gonna fault any college coaches, but when in college, kind of if you're not as skilled, they kind of just throw you in the post, screen, rebound, dunk, finish around the rim. So I learned the game from, I would say, inside out. My first 4 years of college, I played kind of inside position, just more of like center and some power forward. Didn't really shoot threes in my first program. And then in my last year, my redshirt junior year, we played Baylor. They were 15th in the nation, something like that. UCLA, they were 14th in the nation, something like that. And I had some good games. I had some good skills. And I realized maybe I could do more. And so I had already graduated. My last year I transferred. And in Colorado, I played a Division II program called Fort Lewis. And there I was making threes, kind of changed my game a little bit, played pick and pop, played a little bit on the perimeter. And then to my first pro year, I played the four. So mostly pick and pop, play the perimeter, drive to the basket, shoot threes. And so every year of my game, I kind of always added something to my game. And even in the first 4 years of college where I didn't get to play much, I didn't really put my head down or pout or be like, man, maybe this is for me. I just kept working. Kept lifting, kept working on my game, working on my skill set, working on my jumper. And, now you have it. Now I'm a more skilled player, and I still got room to grow even. Like, I learn something new every day, even out here. So I'm a player now, but even in 5 years, I hope you can watch my highlights and say, oh, wow, like this guy really worked at his game. And I hope that's a testament to the way I work at and the way I approach the game of basketball.
Oh man, of course, dude. That's the biggest thing. I mean, I just see 13 made threes with and all those 13 made threes are like guys are sagging off you, like waving at you, like let him shoot. And then the next video, they're contesting. I mean, as a big in all the leagues you've been playing now as a pro, on the scouting report as a big, it's like, do not let this guy shoot. Are you confident saying that's all of them?
I mean, I would hope so. I wouldn't say I'm just a shooter because I do a lot of other things on the court. So for me, shooting isn't my detriment anymore. So you have to respect my shot, or if this guy's open, it's knockdown, or if this guy gets a pick and pop, it's knockdown. So for me, that just goes to show my understanding of the game grow, my skill set grow. And so when other teams guard me, I can keep the defense honest. And that's kind of what the European game is with the four position. You kind of got to stretch the defense a little bit. You kind of got to be able to make that pick and pop shot. And so that's just where I'm at right now. And I hope to continue to grow and continue to get better at that also.
For sure, and it must open up so many other things for you. Whether it's the drive too. I mean, I saw a lot of those in that second video. They were biting on those pump fakes a lot more than they were in the first one, right? So you're getting those drives through, and you're getting those
Definitely.
dunks. But I'm just kind of curious, like to get to that point. What did your mentors kind of look like for you? Whether it's coaches, family, whoever it was that really kind of push you to both embrace the game and embrace getting better and help you get through that process.
I had some really good mentors growing up in Edmonton. I had a gentleman who was a McDonald's All-American. His name was Coach Tex Phillips, and he kind of brought a sense to the game from the American standpoint, growing up in Edmonton, Alberta. So he kind of brought some truth to it and some stuff that I wasn't able to get exposed to growing up there. In college, I was able to work with some really good skills trainers who added skills to my game that I didn't get in college, just because I played mostly around the paint and stuff like that. So I was able to work with a guy in Edmonton named Blaine LeBron. He runs enhanced basketball. I was able to work with him, and he added to my skill set. And then this summer now too, I stay in Dallas, Texas in the off season, and I was able to work with Tyler Ralph, and he works with Julius Randle and a bunch of other NBA players. So every year I'm kind of just seeking out new knowledge, and these people, they know more in the game than I could ever know, and so I always kind of pick their brain and try and see where things I'm deficient in and can get better at, and they teach me, and I'm grateful, and I just try and soak it all in. On top of that, I've had great teammates on the pro teams I've been on. I've had great vets, and that's really important, just because a vet can tell you something that a coach can't tell you. He can tell you something from a player's perspective. A vet can watch film with you and say, hey, you're not doing this, maybe you can do this. And so those kind of stuff are always invaluable. They add a lot to your game, and they help you make like big leaps. And those leaps that you talk about in the off season, where I might go from being a certain player like this to the next year being an even better player. Those things happen just because of the people I surround myself with and the knowledge I'm able to pick from them and just learn.
Awesome. So real quick, for those that can't see, you have a shirt on that says ambition. If you can kind of touch on that and what that word means to you. And
Hey, so in the summer, I actually ventured into the business aspect, and I started my own clothing line called All Things Athletica. And this is one of my shirts. It talks about ambition, and then it has a definition on it. And I can't necessarily read it right now because it's backwards.
I think I could read it. It goes a strong desire to do or to achieve something typically requiring determination and hard work. That's what it's all about.
And then on the bottom, the quote is, ambition is the path to success. So for me, that's just a testament to my life and the way things work out for me. Some people might get like hands, and some people might get handouts and stuff given to them, but for me, like I've worked for a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I think stuff is, you value it more when you have to work for it, and I'm just, it builds like a true test of character. It builds mental toughness, and it just really makes you value life and just be happy in the success you achieve when you work for it and you go through trials and tribulations and you come out on the other side of them. So ambition, that's a big part of something I believe in. And if you like the sweater, you can go buy it on my website.
That's great. So yeah, on your web, and I saw in your interesting bio of your link tree and your website from there. That stuff's all up there. That's great.
Oh yeah.
And I also have some, it's behind this wall, canvases or posters of like just of one word. The one I have now, it's like a Muhammad Ali quote. Passion's up there because passion is my kind of like one word. If I'm super passionate about something, I'm going to put my all into it. The one thing I'm super passionate about is basketball, obviously, but ambition's a great one too. And it's awesome that that's kind of what you're using to define both your life and drive yourself forward.
Love it. Yes, sir.
Awesome. So in terms of right now, I mean, what's it like in Portugal? Did you decide to go there after the pandemic? How's the pandemic affected it? I'm kind of just curious to see like how that worked out.
So with the whole coronavirus situation, stuff has kind of been crazy for the life of a professional basketball player this year. Last year in March, I was playing for the London Lightning. We were the top team in the NBL Canada, and we had a real chance to win the championship there. But I mean, with the coronavirus and everything, the season got canceled, and I ended up going back home to where I live now, home in Dallas, Texas, in the off season. And I was there working out, and my agent called me and presented me with the opportunity here in Portugal for one of the better teams here. I had a chance to play with one of my college teammates from Central Arkansas and play for a good coach and a good winning program. So I said, man, hey, coronavirus or not, I'm taking it. So I'm here now in the top Portuguese league. We just started the season. We got a great team. We hope we kind of have had a tough start. But we hope to right the ship a little bit and get going here pretty soon. And I'm excited for it, man. I'm just grateful to be here. Like, I know a lot of players this year didn't get an opportunity to play because of the whole virus situation and everything, travel restrictions, budget restrictions, economy problems. So I'm just grateful for a chance to play, just get to do what I love doing and just, show my passion on the court.
I'm guessing no fans of the game, they're live streaming everything. Is that kind of how they're operating? Temperature checks, the whole thing, but like you've kind of been able to play uninterrupted?
Yeah. So we have been able to play. Here in Portugal, it's different across Europe, but in Portugal here, we're playing without fans. This past weekend, actually, there was a lockdown. You couldn't travel between your cities. So we had two games, one that was at home and one that was on one of the Portuguese islands that were canceled. Those games will be, I guess they were postponed. They'll be played at a later date. But for the most part, we've been playing since September, uninterrupted, no fans. We have a game on Saturday. It'll keep going. I hope that the season here can be finished. Even with all the lockdowns and everything, they've been able to continue playing sports just because taking those necessary precautions, hand sanitizer at the door, temperature checks, only necessary personnel are allowed in, obviously social distancing and stuff like that. But it's different throughout Europe. I know France right now, they suspended their games for 4 weeks. Spain's still playing. I know some other teams in Eastern Europe, they're not even having the season. I know the teams in like the Scandinavian countries, they're playing and they're playing fine with fans. So every country is different. And so right now here in Portugal, I just hope stuff continues as normal, or the new normal, I would say, actually.
Oh, yeah, you have to preface it with that because it's definitely not the normal we were accustomed to this time last year. And it's always interesting to kind of hear about how it's going in a COVID environment in another country, like what you're saying, how it's going in Portugal. Scandinavia, I didn't know that they actually were completely going up and running with fans. And then I have a lot of friends that play professionally in Greece, and they're all telling me about it's kind of crazy. It's different, like even like per city that they're in. Like, I mean, obviously small differences, but like kind of how it's carried out, which is cool. You're obviously one of the younger guests, being only 24, and I'm 20. That's why I love asking this question. But what's some advice you'd give yourself? I always say 20. Maybe we kind of go back a little bit. You want to say like 18? I don't know. 17, 16. What's some advice you would give a 16-year-old Otas? What would you tell him to help him that he didn't know back then that you know now?
That's a great question. Honestly, hindsight is a lovely thing because you could always go back. Everybody would always wish they could change something. But for me, I would say two things. I would say don't sweat the small stuff. Like if something's not going your way, maybe one day, like don't sweat it. Because like in high school, like say you fail a test or you get a bad grade on the test. You're like, oh my goodness, the world's over. Like I'm not gonna get into college. Like I'm not gonna play this game. Like the world's over. And man, hey, I graduated in 3 years. Like all those tests in high school, I literally don't even remember them. So I would say to younger version of myself or anyone listening is don't sweat the small stuff, man. Just always put your head down and keep working hard. And I would say the second thing, don't. Always put your best foot forward and always do. Like, don't because at the end of the day, if there's something that you're like, I should have done this or I shouldn't have done that, or maybe what if things would have been different if I had done this, always do it. Like the only regret in your life you'll have is not doing because you won't be able to know. So like it kind of goes back to that Michael Jordan quote or Wayne Gretzky quote of you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So for me, always do. And like just put your best foot forward and put your best effort in things, and life will work out because it always does.
As long as you're working hard, you're right. It always does work out. And it's interesting what you say about that Jordan quote because I feel like a lot of people use it all the time, and people might think, oh, that quote's overused. But the reason it's overused is because it's so good and it's so true, and it's so applicable to just life in general. So Otas, man, I mean, thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean, we had a fun time. I mean, I know you were laughing, I was laughing. I mean, those are always the best episodes when we're just having fun talking hoops, and obviously, you know, your journey is super interesting, and I mean, what's to come is even cooler. So best of luck going forward. We'll obviously keep in touch, and can't wait to see what's in store for you.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I apologize for the construction here in Portugal. I'm on the bottom of my apartment at a coffee shop with some Wi-Fi because that's the best connection I can get out here. But thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed talking hoops with you. I love the show. I love what you're doing. You got some great guests. And I'll continue following it, and best of luck.
Thanks for listening to the Big Fellas Podcast. Check us out on all major social media platforms at Big Fellas Pod to join the chop up. You can also listen to us on every podcast platform on the planet. Stay tuned for the next episode, Big Fellas.